Howdy all, grab yourselves a beer, it's time for some Path of Exile. And today what I'm doing is I'm going to be running a tier 15 map at a point where I'm not really ready for tier 15 maps, I'm terribly undergeared. I'm running it with 8 mods and lots of absolutely chaotic stuff on there. And I want to just basically demonstrate playing slow and carefully. This is not something that is particularly super efficient farming. It's basically all about going through, killing monsters that are far beyond what you can do at when you're moving through a map at the speed of light. So one of the tricks I'm using here is abusing line of sight. I'm not sure these enemies can kill me. I don't think they I don't think that the trash mobs can really one-shot me or anything close to it, but I'm treating them as though they can. So I'm trying to avoid getting in line of sight with them. Now these ones I can't avoid it, so that's fine. I'll just, as soon as I see them, I'll run away. Now you'll notice I had a corrupting blood on me there. That was the Bloodlines version. This map has Zana Bloodlines on it as well. And that ends up adding a little bit of extra damage. And that's the reason we're doing this. Forge of the Phoenix map, that's a solid 20 chaos I think at the moment. I'll have to check current prices, but that certainly makes up for the cost of buying this 13 chaos map, then chiseling it, elking it, using a Varlorb on it, and then throwing Zana Bloodlines on it. Again, I'm staying very carefully, playing very carefully. I'm continually strafing, so I'm moving from one side of the screen to the other, so that any projectiles that are aimed at where I was will end up missing. I am going to give this a shot because it's softcore. If this was hardcore, there is no way in hell that I would be game to attempt one of these zones. These zones are somewhat like breaches. They're much harder than the normal content in the game. Monsters are much more dangerous, and you'll see here lots and lots of scary things. However, you don't need to pick up loot until the end of the zone. Everything will be vacuumed up for you conveniently. Doesn't seem like the Defile Cathedral has as many monsters in it as I was hoping it might. Especially with a 40% pack size map. This actually is really sparse, disappointingly so. But anyways, that's the way it rolls sometimes. There has been some extensive testing done on the number of monsters in various maps, and I'm just not aware of how Defile Cathedral shakes up. And also, for that matter, I'm not aware if there are any changes to density in the Synthesis League. Nothing was listed in the patch notes, but you never sort of know. Looks like I might actually succeed in getting this 4. That's nice. It's good to get a 4-directional map in a zone like this. I'm not really trying to optimize the memory fragments. I'm basically treating these like breaches. They're just zones full of monsters to kill and loot to collect. But at some point I will start getting into the synthesis mechanics seriously. Until then, say it's just stuff to kill, and that seems to be all I can achieve in there. So I was actually able to get away with being more reckless than I thought I could. I sincerely thought that I was going to get killed in that zone, but I didn't. So good. Again here, I noticed that monster had the ability to fire he was casting some sort of spell. I didn't know that he was multiple projectiles beyond just the default +2 that every monster in the zone has. That was that rare monster must have had the mod that rares can have that gives them the ability to fire 2 more projectiles. But I treat them as though they do, and I just generally make sure that I'm not staying in the same direction from the monster for very long. These monsters have no range attacks, so I'm not concerned about them. This one, however, is terrifyingly scary. This is Bammoth, the Beyond boss. I'm going to be very careful. Got to get off the corpses. Again, this is all about knowing this specific boss's attacks. He has a Val Detonate Dead variant that will absolutely rip you to shreds. I'm just going to quickly portal out at this point. I seem to be fine with the number of portals. I haven't died, and I don't feel like I'm close to it. And just throw some stuff into the stash. Just quickly appraise things, and then, as expected, all garbage. These I'm going to hold on to for the moment. Not because any of these are inherently strong items, just because I need to, like, with the synthesis mechanics, the fractured items, some items that are rubbish for purposes of using them have hidden uses in crafting. And those ones are something that I just generally want to try and see if there's interest in buying them before I vendor them. Particularly with high item level synthesized items, or sorry, fractured items. These aren't the synthesized. There's a lot of tricks available. Now that was reckless, me deliberately prepping this without setting it up first and identifying it. The reason is I'm immune to freeze. And that's just as something that an occultist has the ability to pick up, so I'm not that concerned. I'm getting swarmed here, but because I was aware that corrupting blood is always a problem in a zone with monsters having bloodlines mods, but I'm generally able to dodge enough of the attacks that are coming, and then stick a corrupting when there's a corrupting blood around, just clear it. So those skeletons there that I killed quickly, not the ones that have the massive clubs and that are big, they have an attack that would possibly one-shot me. This boss is very easy mechanically. I'm assuming that his stats are very high on tier 15. This is the first time I've fought the tier 15 version of Woad Mockery of Man, so I'm going to try and avoid getting hit at all, just on the assumption that any hit that he does land can actually one-shot me. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Yep, there's me not being careful enough. I guessed the wrong way that those attacks would move. I knew that those attacks were dangerous, but I thought that they would move in a different direction because I don't know this fight. Never needed to know it when it was a tier 12 map. You generally always had enough hit points that you could just disregard that ability and just go, oh yep, I'll ignore it. You'll notice that a prophecy procced that caused a bunch of undead to spawn on the map. I've not been targeting specific prophecies. I just happen to have that one, and I know it's not something super precious. Yeah, that's something that makes the run worthwhile. I've had a bit of luck on this zone, getting 2 tier 16s, even for a map as juicy as this one. Getting 2 tier 16s is lucky, but it's not miracle luck. It's just above average. Were I to get 5, that would be miracle tier luck. Again, I'm just trying to make sure that monsters can't get near me, and that I've always got to charge a flame dash to get away if they do. Getting quite close to finishing this map out. Again, I'm still needing to move quickly when I'm being hammered by projectiles. And that's something that when I'm properly geared for tier 15 farming, I'll just be able to face tank those. But for the moment, I'm not geared like that, so it's just fire something off, get the hell out of there, and then let the monsters die. That's very dangerous at Heralds of the Obelisk mod. It's something that, if you're not familiar with high tier maps, you really need to be borderline terrified of that. That's the end of the map. So we completed that. Unfortunately, did have that one death, and that was due to a combination of carelessness and just underestimating a boss that has always been easy in the past. But that's all I've got for this video. That's my first tier 15 of the map. My first tier 16, I'm just going to finish rolling it now. I've got this Elder Chateau map. This actually comes from the Price of Protection Divination card, which drops from invasion monsters. Because invasion monsters can spawn at any tier of mapping, it's a card that players will just randomly get their hands on. It's not, and also because the Chateau map is not particularly popular, it's not valued as highly as other tier 16s. I'm going to Valis and see what we get. So currently it's minus max, extra damage is fire, twinned, and yeah, the bosses are really dangerous. The bosses are Argus, Eternal Labyrinth Argus, but meaner. But he's mechanically very easy, so even having it be a twinned mod on it is still fine. And we had no change when we corrupted it. So, anyways, that's the end of my first tier 15. My first tier 16 will be next, and it should be easier because it's a 5 or 6 mod map instead of an 8 mod.